we live in a bubble of bewilderment where we don't even know the nature of the reality that we are interacting with and how it affects us. And crucially, when we got this information, how we can affect it and therefore control our own experience, how we can live life instead of life living us, which is what happens with most people.
Yes.
The way the human sense processes decode reality means that it only decodes a certain range of frequency. So visually, we can only see the holographic world, overwhelmingly. So you see people and you see buildings, you see computer here, and what you see between them is empty space. But that's only because the decoding processes of the body can't decode the frequency on which the consciousness energy field, the field, is operating at. And if we could see that, we'd realize all the form that we think is operating within empty space is operating as an expression of an energetic consciousness field, which connects everything. So when people say, we are all one, it's not just some trite phrase, it's physics. Again, it's the way the world works. And because we can only perceive form, holographic form, then you have the infinite potential for divide and rule by labeling that form and playing those labels off against each other. That's what happens. So I'm the opposite of that. I'm saying, look, we need to enjoy the different experiences we're having and the different cultures we're experiencing, but for goodness sake, realize that it's just an experience and we're all one, for goodness sake. So how can that philosophy be in any way racist? Of course it can't be, and the attacks on me from that perspective are simply to demonize me because of the information I'm putting out there. That's the dynamic. There's an agenda for the world, and that agenda for the world is going to happen if it's left to happen. You are not going to persuade these psychopaths of this cult to stop doing what they're doing and stop advancing what they're advancing. You're not going to do it by persuasion. The only people that are going to stop this is the population. We end it or it doesn't end. And we end it not with violence, but with non-cooperation with our own enslavement. We end it by the power of no. These people have no power without human acquiescence. How can a few people, comparatively to the global population, tiny numbers of people, impose their will on the global population without the cooperation of the billions? They can't. It's impossible. And we need to withdraw that cooperation. Not just go on marches and protests, which is good because it's a sign of public feeling, but then go back and cooperate, but to refuse to cooperate. If enough people say no, it's unenforceable. Not enough people to enforce it, let alone enough people to tell people to enforce it. The power is with us, but we've given it away and we continue to give it away. And one massive way we give it away is by realizing or thinking we don't have it. An authority is all powerful. It's not. It recycles our power that we give away back against us. But the massive way that these few dictate to the many is by controlling the perceptions of the many. And if anyone's watching this who only get their information from, usually anyway, from mainstream sources, well, you're being lied to 24/7. That's what they're there for. And if you believe the lies, they control your perception. They control your perception, they control your behavior, they control your behavior, they control the world, and they control your life. You know, we have to just grow a backbone and grow some self-respect to say, I'm not going to be told what to do. I'm going to, if you want me to do something, you've got to justify it to me, not with lies, but with substantial, supportable evidence. And I'm going to check it out anyway to see if you're lying to me, because you usually are. That's the whole story of history and authority. And if I find you're lying, well, I'm not doing what you're telling me I've got to do. And it's over. And so it just shows you the power of no, because that's what these marches are saying. We're not going to have it. When enough people employ the power of no, a few people, they'll pick you off. But you reach a point of non-cooperation in numbers, and it's over, because it's unenforceable. And that's where we need to come from the people, not to the politicians. The politicians answer to the cult. That's why there's been such coordination. So we, the people, have to change things so that the politicians, as vehicles of the cult, cannot impose their agenda, because we won't have it and we won't cooperate with it. That's how it changes. We are a long way along the road compared with where we were in the spring of 2020. I'll tell you that, big time. But where we go from here, well, the power of no will decide. If what you say has validity, it will eventually be shown to be so, because circumstances will make it. So keep saying it, keep speaking your truth, and don't think about the consequences and the reactions. Just speak your truth. And if it's valid, it will be shown to be so eventually. But if you don't speak your truth way back, and what you know is coming comes, and you say, I knew this was coming, people will go, oh yeah, mate, cool, you did. So that's why we have to speak our truth at all times.
Everyone wants to change, but no one is prepared to be the one that stands up and says, yes, let's do it, and takes the first step. And the thing is that if people were to do this, I mean, it wouldn't be like you were taking the first step anyway, because there's so many people in the independent media that have already taken that step. There's so many people that are already speaking out and that are already stepping away from the system. All we need is more numbers to do that, and we will see some change. And it's very difficult to give any plan, any outline for freedom to a species who does not want to be involved in making that happen. That's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. And all the people that complain that there's no solutions being provided, the problem is they want some step-by-step plan laid out on paper, and you can't do that. You know, what you have to do is change the mindset of the people, change their belief systems, help people understand that they actually have the power to bring about change themselves, and they are not slaves, and they do not have to do what they're told all the time. That is the most difficult thing, breaking the mindset in people. And it's people's need to be led, which is the problem to begin with. It's people's willingness to be led, which has brought us to this situation. So leading people to safety is not the way to freedom. You've got to help people understand the power that they have so they can stand in that. And that might seem really obscure to people, but it's not. I mean, that is the way out. It's for people to realise that they just don't have to do what they're told. And if we were to respect each other and allow people to think differently, then we would find some remedy to this situation. Realising that it is the grid itself that is the problem is half the battle. Realising how many distractions have been put there for us to argue about and to focus on, and realising that we're externalising all of the solutions we come up with. We think it's about pulling the government down and replacing it with new people, but that's not going to work, because it's the grid, it's the tech, it's the smart system. The smart system is the grid itself. The smart system is the New World Order. And as I said earlier, people are failing to comprehend what this is because they are failing artificial intelligence and autonomic intelligence, autonomic virtual life. They're failing to see what you need to be considered to be artificially intelligent or to consider to be a virtual life. In order to be a virtual life, in order to be able to think and act like a living mind. And people are failing to differentiate between autonomic intelligence and artificial intelligence, and that is where the problem is, because when the internet does become fully autonomic and when the grid does become fully autonomic, then it becomes virtually self-aware by default, because that's what an autonomic system is. And please don't lose heart with all of this negative information that comes to you, folks. I mean, the world is pretty crazy at the moment, and it's just getting crazier and crazier. But as I said, I do have an enormous amount of faith in this species, and I do believe we will find a way through this mess.